It's lights out, everybody, and welcome back to the Low Downforce podcast, the For Friend Formula One podcast. It is Thanksgiving week, which means you are stuck once again with the dynamic duo. Obviously, a busy weekend going on here, but you've got Josh, you've got myself, Ben, Matt, and J9. They're focusing on their families as they should, but we are absolutely gripped over here by the rundown to the end of the Formula One season that we are getting. We still have 3 drivers competing for the Drivers' Championship. We are finally at the penultimate race, which is the first opportunity for a Drivers' Champion to be crowned, and that brings us all the way halfway across the world. It's a triple header straight from Vegas to Qatar and the Lusail International Circuit for not just a Grand Prix, but it is a sprint weekend. We have a sprint race for you as well. More points on the table, and oh boy, could these points mean everything in the championship. And a little further down in the Constructors' Championship as well, we've got a hot battle for P7 in the Constructors' Championship right now. But we are all the way here in time for the Formula One Qatar Airways, of course, Qatar Grand Prix 2025. They sponsor a lot of Grand Prix. You might as well sponsor your home race. But we are heading to the Middle East for the final 2 races of the season. The first up in Qatar. We are on the hardest tires, the C1, C2, C3, but a little bit of trickiness with it too is Pirelli has mandated that the maximum a tire can be used is 25 laps. We did see a similar thing a couple years ago. We'll talk more about it in a little bit, but that kind of tire limitation, that lap age limitation, because of how high the degradation is, how concerned Pirelli was with their tires just falling apart in a dangerous way, led to one of the most chaotic, maybe even one of the most dangerous races of modern Formula One. So we will certainly get to that.
When you said that, it was so bright and cheery. It's like one of the most dangerous races.
Everybody was okay. There's certainly some big headlines. Some actually Formula One altering technologies came out of the situation that was the Qatar Grand Prix in 2023. So we will talk about it. But to get you set up for all of it, it's Matt's Track Facts. Matt ain't here, though. So we got Josh, honorary Matt, this weekend. Do him proud for the final sprint weekend of the season.
Yeah, I'm not Matt, but I'll take this segment with his namesake. This is the Lusail International Circuit, as you said, Ben, in Lusail, Qatar, which is on the outskirts of Doha. The track is 5.419 kilometers long, which is equivalent to 3.367 miles for the people that use the correct form of measurement. There's 57 laps, which equates to a total lap distance of 308.611 kilometers. There's 16 turns with some long straights and flowing corners. There's 1 DRS zone into turn 1. The lap record is a 122.384 by your guy Lando Norris in last year's race, but the track record from qualification is a 120.52 by Max Verstappen last year as well. They first started racing here in 2021, and like you said, there is high tire degradation, and part of that is because you're in the desert. There's sand grit just blown all over the place, and it creates a very rough surface. The track conditions will change overnight, but the forecast says clear skies, gentle breeze, which that should be good for grip, even though you're on the hardest tire, but that things can change in an instant.
I didn't realize until doing the research for this episode that Qatar has only been on the calendar since 2021.
Yeah, it's new.
Interesting because, we talked about, go check out our Las Vegas review episode. I gave Vegas a shout out as being pretty good for its first 3 years. But that's what gets talked about as, the new circuit, the new gross circuit. Maybe it's because Qatar is a track as opposed to a street circuit that gives it a little more credit. But for the significance that it has at the end of the season, for the hype that I feel like is usually around it, I would have guessed it was around for a lot longer.
Well, it is new to Formula One, started racing here in 2021, but the track was built for MotoGP in 2004. So the track itself, the track itself has been there.
Some motorsport credentials.
New for F1.
But it is interesting how different tracks get treated differently, regardless of newness or oldness or historicness, all of that sort of thing. But it's interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit about 2024 before I get into, as I teased, the 2023 race, because it kind of was a little anticlimactic last year. We had already had Max Verstappen clinching the championship in Las Vegas last year, the race before. So championship was over at this point. So we get Max with another win. He's just running away. Championship already over, but he's putting a stamp on it. Lando Norris was his closest follower in the race until he does not slow quick enough, at least, under double yellow flags. The FIA, the stewards, give him a 10-second stop-go penalty, which we don't hear often. So just to explain it real quick, you have to drive into your pits, sit in your pit box for 10 seconds, and then leave the pit. So not only is it the 10 seconds, but it's also the travel in the pit lane. So it's actually the harshest penalty the stewards can give. That's not a black flag, which is a disqualification from the race. So it bumps Lando all the way down. He sneaks back right at the end to grab 1 point in 10th, which similar, I would argue, to Oscar keeping it out of the grass at the opening race this year in Australia to snag a point or two and the significance it could have. McLaren, the following race, went on to win the Constructors' Championship, fighting to the end with Ferrari. So every point matters, but I hinted at it earlier. What's worth talking about in Qatar is the 2023 race. So a lot of mitigating factors, one of which, similar to this year, Pirelli did have to put after practice, so we didn't get as much heads up, but looking at the tires after practice, deemed it dangerous to drive on them beyond 18 laps. And so, with all the drivers being confined to that limit, they could go flat out every lap. They were going to have to swap tires by mandate before they would wear down enough, which means they could push harder on them as opposed to trying to nurse the tires because they couldn't extend a stint if they wanted to. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is Qatar was 6 weeks earlier in the season last year, which meant it was a lot hotter. And with that heat, with going flat out, we saw some of the most grueling conditions with cockpit temperatures reaching 50, in some cases 60 degrees Celsius. Logan Sargent retired from the race, not feeling well. Lance Stroll, after the race, admitted to losing consciousness in and out around some of the high-speed corners. It was, again, we're talking about it. We love Formula One. We've tried to convey Formula One is very much a sport, a physical, athletic sport. These drivers are very fit with the G-forces they go under. So to hear people in very much racing shape on the verge of consciousness means you or I, we'd be flat out into the wall as our head just droops to the side, completely out of it. But I mentioned that there was a key technology piece. Now, I don't think it's a requirement yet. There's talks about it being a requirement going forward. But if the race temperature and track temperature are above a certain limit, drivers are allowed to wear a cooling suit under their flame retardant jackets, their suits, that has a cooling liquid going through it to help regulate their body temperature and things like that to prevent instances like this happening. So, we talk about, certain crashes led to the halo being introduced to the car, which is a huge safety feature. We've seen multiple instances where it's saved lives, saved decapitations, that sort of gruesome nature of the sport. We get another technology purely because of the 2023 Qatar race, where now drivers have the ability to cool themselves if temperatures push into extreme conditions. And then the one other note, it's going to come up a little bit. Matt has sent me his prediction, so I know it's coming in his hot take, but that same race, McLaren set the world record for the fastest pit stop with a 1.80 second pit stop. I highly recommend you looking it up if you haven't seen it. It is astonishing how quickly a team can lift a car, replace the tires, set it back down, and send it back into the race. But certainly things to look out for. We do not 18 laps, 25 laps, but you're going to see cars push harder this year because there is a maximum stint length that they can have. There is less advantage or no advantage. You can't extend beyond that. So it limits the strategy a little bit, but it also means these drivers are really going to be fighting for it every single lap.
Do you know what is the penalty if you were to do a 26 lap? Like, are you disqualified, or they give you a harsh penalty, or what would it be?
I don't know if it's disqualified. I don't know if it's
or
specific
will the
penalty,
tires explode?
Well, so that's the thing, right? Is like it's not like don't do it because we don't want you to do it. Pirelli is saying this. Again, this isn't a great look for Pirelli to be like, oh, you can't use our tires past this point. You also have to remember Pirelli sells tires to road cars. So, they want good press,
They're just a little different.
But part of the punishment is the risk that you could be in first by a mile, and if you push one lap too far, your tire could just explode and you're done right there. But I don't know. The stewards could decide. They have briefings with the driver, stuff like that. It could be, a mandated penalty that you have to go into the pits. If you don't obey, you could get black flagged. Like we mentioned, you can get disqualified from the race. They have that power to do so for not following the race director's instructions. So again, I'm sure there will be a punishment if somebody goes over, but the whole point is that it's not just don't do this for strategy or whatever. It's don't do this so your tire explodes. So I don't think any team is going to want to risk that anyways. But it means that we are guaranteed 2 stops in this race as opposed to the mandated 1 for a tire change. So a lot to look forward to, as is true in our own case with our own Predictors Championship. Because boy, is it getting close, and we are running out of, much like the drivers, we are running out of opportunities to score points. So Josh, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so coming off of Vegas, where we had decent results for the group, I am in the lead with 49 points. Matt just behind me with 46, and then you and J9 are at the back. J9 with 36, and you with 35. So it's still
there's so still close.
Points. Yeah, you're close to not being last. There's still points up for grabs, especially with the sprint race adding on some extra points, but it is crunch time. My lead definitely isn't safe over Matt. I don't think either of us have to worry about you or J9.
There's definitely 2 distinct battles going on. One certainly more rewarding than the other, but no one wants to finish last.
You're fighting for a podium position down there,
Ain't that
3 out of 4, but
I mean, that's the equivalent of P15 getting a podium in a 15-place podium in F1. So I don't know how much it's worth.
It's like the meme of the guy celebrating, like you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, with the champagne. Straight to
he's like all the way down the ladder.
Which is fitting. This is the sport of champagne on the podium for sure. But certainly a lot to play for. But I don't know. Are my predictions a little more what I hope happens as opposed to what I think is going to happen? We shall see. But
we'll find out how many times you say the name Lando Norris.
It is the last sprint weekend. Spoiler alert, there's a lot of his name. But it is the last sprint weekend, which means we have 2 extra predictions, which means 2 extra points on the table for these 2 distinct, one more meaningful than the other Predictors Championship battles. But nonetheless, we go chronologically as we always do, which starts us off on the weekend. On the Friday afternoon, the second session for the sprint shootout. Who will get sprint pole position? Josh, you have J9's predictions. I have Matt's. So why don't you give me both yours and hers?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and spoil both the sprint pole and the sprint win because I feel like it's always the same. We never have a pass in the sprint. It might as well get it out of the way, So I have gone, I'm going to do J9 first. He's gone Max Verstappen. He's on an absolute heater. Won again in Las Vegas. He, I guess, hasn't won in a while before that and hasn't qualified on pole since Austin, which I guess is a while for him. But he's been making a late title charge and would be cool to see. So him getting some sprint points there would be cool. And then I've gone with Oscar Piastri. He has won back-to-back sprints here in Qatar. I know his confidence probably isn't the highest right now, but I think Piastri is finally going to have a week where he puts it back together at a track where he's had success in the past. I've gone him for pole and the win, and he'll have, at that point, passed Max Verstappen and be hunting down his teammate.
Clearly, we all think alike in the sense of Matt and I both have the same sprint winner as we do sprint pole position. Matt has gone with Max Verstappen, similar to J9's thinking. I have gone Lando Norris because Lando Norris is
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Lando Norris is in a very unique position, though, this is his first chance to outright win the Drivers' Championship. But regardless of how poorly this weekend goes, he cannot lose the championship this weekend. Both other drivers have that at stake. Obviously, they're going to be pushing to stay alive in it, but this is where we're going to get Lando flow state, I hope, where he just knows that he just has to put in one great weekend, and history books, online Reddit just shitting on him week in, week out.
You don't think Lando Norris, Mr. Can't Handle the Pressure, is going to have all of that weight bearing down on him?
Maybe, you know what? Last season, you're 100% right. Earlier this season, I would have believed you as well. But even with the double disqualification, the grabbing pole at a track he shouldn't have, even though the disqualification outperforming his teammate, I just think Lando's in the form of his life, and I don't think that the disqualification takes away from that because he did what he needed to do on the track.
I'm just being a hater. I think he's going to win the championship too.
I get it. We'll see. My mood the next 2 weekends is heavily dependent on Lando's success. So for my sake, I hope he does well. I'm certainly cheering for him immensely. But that brings us to pole position where, surprise, I've gone Lando Norris as well. Matt has also gone Lando Norris. So my fellow McLaren fan, we are fully buying in to Lando Norris having a strong weekend.
And J9 has also gone for Lando Norris, but I'm sticking with Piastri. I want all the storylines. I want it to come down to the wire.
Go to Abu Dhabi.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to see it happen.
Speaking of Oscar Piastri, both Matt and I, spoiler alert, we have the entire identical podiums, which makes it easy for me to recite his, recite mine. We have gone for Oscar Piastri in P3, which might be a little surprise because Max is in the mix, but say what you want about Vegas, Qatar might be McLaren's best track of the year. Even in 2023, when Max was so dominant, won more races and a higher percentage of races than anybody in Formula One ever, Oscar Piastri won the sprint in 2023. Lando Norris botched a pole lap, I believe, as well. It was the closest race for McLaren of the year in terms of winning. So it should suit McLaren, but we've gone Oscar Piastri in P3.
You and Matt, if you have the same predictions, you also have the same as J9, because I'm looking at it right now.
Dang.
And you have all gone the same. I have gone different, though. I have gone Lando Norris in P3.
Wow.
Yeah,
you want it, but we're all cooking our own storylines here.
I'm trying to get a tie going into the last race.
I mean, surely you got a Ferrari on top step, right? You gotta believe, right?
Imagine if Lewis won one. That'd be crazy.
But I guess that means J9 is alongside us, but we have gone Max Verstappen in P2. He's on great form. I think it's going to be hard to catch a high-performing McLaren this weekend, but if anybody can do it, it's Max. Matt and I have gone with him in P2.
I'm going to spoil all my takes here. I do think he will do that. I think he's going to win the race. I have Piastri finishing second, right ahead of his teammate, and Max finishing first. So we'll see.
And you mentioned J9 is the same as Matt's, is the same as mine. We have gone for Lando Norris for the win, which if he finishes top 7, so a little scenario for you, as long as he finishes top 7 in the sprint race, if Lando Norris wins the Grand Prix, that will be enough for the championship
I don't
this year.
See that, man.
So, I mean,
come on,
but like you said, it will certainly go to Abu Dhabi with your predictions, but Lando Norris P3 is all he needs to do.
Yeah.
Which is certainly the advantage that Lando has coming into these final races, which, again, suit the McLaren more than Vegas did. And I want to jump into spicy hot takes, but I jumped the gun last time. I won't do it again.
Here you go. Look at that.
We have the P10 prediction first, which we mentioned the Constructors' Championship is heating up at the bottom half of the table. So P10 could be a huge deal, or it could be a huge disappointment. Josh, who have you gone with in P10?
I've gone Alex Albon, coming off the DNF last race, but I feel like he can put it together. Like, he is a good driver. The Williams, I feel like, had a great start to the year, kind of fell off a little bit in the middle, but I feel like they're going to finish strong. I feel like they've been decent the last few races. So I'm going Alex Albon.
What about J9?
Ollie Behrman, who has been right around that 10th finishing position. Like, it feels like the last billion races in a row, except for Mexico when he finished 4th.
So we had very similar podiums, but we've all gone a little different as we'd hoped when we came up with this prediction category. Matt has gone with Pierre Gasly, who's still riding a little bit of a hot hand, getting some much needed points for Alpine in these last couple races because, oh boy, do they stink.
Yeah.
And I have gone for Nico Hülkenberg. Coming off a P8, he was P10 before the double disqualification. I have him grabbing points as well. Sauber very much in the fight to jump from 9th last minute to maybe even jump Aston Martin for P8 in the Constructors' Championship.
So you and Matt did not pick the same guy, but you both picked guys who Daniel Ricciardo loves to say their names in a very fun way.
That is true.
Nico
maybe there is. Maybe the McLaren fandom has created some similarities between us, but maybe there won't be similarities in the Predictors' Championship standings at the end of this weekend. It brings us to our spicy hot takes. 3 times the chaos, 3 times the points. You get this right. Huge swing in our very own championship, potentially. So you got to go bold, but can you cash in when it matters? Josh, I'm kicking it to you first. What is your spicy hot take?
To go along with my perfect storyline weekend, I'm saying there will be a controversial penalty decision between Max and a McLaren or both McLarens. Yeah, I don't know which way it's going to go, but something is going to happen. This will be going down to Abu Dhabi, and part of it will be because of a penalty that is very controversial.
Jeez, you are stirring the pot, my friend, but certainly worth gluing your eyes to the screen to see if all of that comes true. What did J9, queen of the spicy hot takes, go for?
Yeah, so after roasting Ferrari last week, saying Ferrari would get a double DNF, and it was actually McLaren. I guess they both finished, but they both got disqualified. Same difference. She's gone another 2 DNFs. She didn't say who, just 2 DNFs will happen in the race, and 2 McLarens on the podium. So I feel like the McLaren podium part, not that hot. The 2 DNFs, maybe not that hot, but putting them 2 together will count.
Certainly would push some storylines along. Matt, I mentioned the world record pit stop in our little bit of our race rewind. His spicy hot take is that the fastest pit stop of the season so far, so not counting what may come in Abu Dhabi, will happen this weekend. Currently, 1.91 seconds by McLaren is the current fastest pit stop of the season. Unbelievably impressive. We talk about it all the time. Between 2 and 2.5 seconds of a pit stop is great. That's a solid, standard, great F1 pit stop. If you break the 2-second threshold down into the 1 point whatevers, it's a special one. It's a historic one. You celebrate it when you can. It's a huge shout to the team because they work so hard week in, week out. So,
you want to hear my reenactment of a F1 pit stop?
Go for it.
That was it.
That's it.
How fast it is.
That's about it. It is that perfectly synced
up. That was not good.
We're going to clip that. Don't worry. Beautiful sounds coming from Josh. But that leaves me with my spicy hot take. I said, is it what I want? Is it what I think is going to happen? But following the double disqualification, the bummer for the McLarens, I've talked about Lando being on the form of his life. He is going to cap this season off in the grandest way he can. Lando is going to top every competitive session this weekend. Sprint shootout pole, sprint winner, Grand Prix winner, and pole position for that Grand Prix. He is going to top it all. He said, hey, first chance to win a championship, that's all I need, baby. Because it's a sprint weekend, the competitive sessions kick off on Friday. So everybody's at home in the United States. It's Thanksgiving holiday. You're already on the couch anyways. You got the plate full of food. What better than flipping on a little bit of racing action before you get into some college football? So we have got the sprint shootout. That is the qualifying for the sprint race at 12:30 p.m. on Friday. The sprint race coming to you the following morning, 9 a.m. on Saturday, and then only a few hours later, qualifying for the Grand Prix is at 1 p.m. on Saturday. So 2 exciting sessions on Saturday, 2 meaningful sessions. And then the chance for the championship to be won. The first chance, at least at that, the Grand Prix comes to you on ESPN on Sunday at 11 a.m. If you're on the East Coast, all of these times are East Coast times. I've said this every time. If you're getting into Formula One, if you're listening along, first off, thank you so much. But this is the last season. These are the final 2 races, or race weekends at least, that are on ESPN, free to access. So you might as well tune in. Potentially see a championship won right out of the gate if it is your first time watching Formula One. It is moving to Apple TV next year. So if you already have that, if you're already watching Severance, the likes, be sure to tune in to Formula One as we go forward. But
what a great show that is. Unrelated.
Yes, it is. But absolutely tune in. Now is crunch time. Now is where the money is earned. It is championship deciding these final 2 races of the 2025 season. You won't want to miss it. And of course, we will be back immediately after, stuffing our bellies on Thanksgiving and watching the Qatar Grand Prix and sprint race. But until then, everybody, stay speedy. Goodbye.